Welcome to the MyTech Toolbelt podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Shannon.
And I'm Brenda. And this is a podcast where we highlight educators who innovate, engage, and inspire through the use of technology. Thank you so much for joining us today for episode 18 of the MyTech Toolbelt podcast. Have you heard about coding but have never tried it with your class? Well, today we speak with Jillian Hoffman, a fourth grade teacher from California. Jillian had tried the hour of code at her prior school briefly and wanted to bring it to her new school where it had not been used before. She was so passionate about bringing it to her new school that she even applied for a grant to make that happen. And she had never written a grant before. We get to follow along with her on her journey today. So, without further ado, our interview with Jillian Hoffman. Everyone, we are so excited today to welcome Jillian Hoffman to our studio, to the MyTech Toolbelt podcast
Yes.
today.
Yes, we are.
So I just want to say thank you so much, Jillian, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about Hour of Code.
Hour of Code.
And a couple other things. But before we get started into that, why don't you just first tell us a couple things about yourself?
All right. Well, I am a fourth grade teacher this year at a local elementary school in Torrance, California. And I've been teaching for 15 years. I've taught at both public and private. I've taught kindergarten, first grade, third grade, and fourth grade.
Skipped second.
No second and no fifth.
Okay. You almost got all the bases covered there for elementary. So, well, thank you. So one other thing is that we'll disclose right off the bat is Jillian Hoffman is my sister, my younger sister, the good looking one.
I know.
And so I'm very proud. We are a family of teachers. And her husband also teaches.
Yes.
So local, dinners at my house are very much about ed policy and, changing the world through education. So
it's very exciting.
I'm very excited that she's here today because she's talking about something that's super exciting to me, and was really excited when she told me that she was doing this in her classroom. And so I drug her down to the studio for us to record this interview. So she cried and kicked and screamed a little bit, but here she is.
I know.
Just a little bit.
Came willingly. I saw her walk in by herself. So tell us a little bit about your school demographic and what it looks like.
So my school is a Title I, which means that we are one-to-one with technology. So all of my fourth grade students have their own Chromebooks. I have my own Chromebook cart in my classroom. So we use a lot of technology throughout the day with all the different curriculum areas. So it's very nice to not have to share. I've been in schools where I've had to share a Chromebook cart or an iPad cart, and it just makes things difficult. So the fact that we have it in our classroom all the time and the kids can access that whenever they need to or whenever they want to, it just makes it so much easier.
And so you have Chromebooks, and you guys subscribe to some different softwares, like you have a math program.
We do. We have ST Math, and then there's a couple other programs, Extra Math, and some other free ones that the kids like to do. We also use Achieve 3000. We use Accelerated Reader, and then they just like to play, a couple different games and things like that.
Well, and they probably love Hour of Code now that you've introduced that
they
to them.
do.
So.
They ask to do it all the time.
Excellent. So I'm excited to talk about it.
I know, right?
So I know your journey, and the technology that you've integrated into your various classrooms and your passion to do that. Will you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about that journey?
Well, it's looked different every year. Obviously, in kindergarten, we used the iPads and different apps a lot. And then when I taught third grade, I was fortunate enough to be with some teachers who were a little more technologically savvy. So they kind of helped me through learning some new things, including Hour of Code and some other websites that were wonderful to use with the kids. We had them doing a lot of things on Google Slides and different things like that for them to use in the classroom. And then this year, I have tried to carry that over and introduce some of these things to the teachers at my school. who were not using technology in the classroom at all before.
That's great.
Wow. So they had the Chromebooks already, but weren't really using them to...
They pretty much just had the kids going on to the different websites and the different programs, but they weren't really teaching them how to use the different tools.
Mm-hmm.
And so would you consider yourself, and you alluded to this, but would you consider yourself to be a teacher that is like very like, yay, technology in the classroom, or a little, I think you're a little more apprehensive?
I think I'm a little more apprehensive at first, but once I try something, I like to use it. You know, I kind of want to know what I'm doing before I introduce it to the kids. But a lot of times I find that the kids have no fear, and they don't care if I don't know what I'm doing 100%, and they just like to learn the technology. And, you know, I have to kind of let go of my fears sometimes with that and not always knowing what I'm doing. And that's okay.
It is.
So
absolutely.
It is okay.
I'm getting better with that.
So, but this is the first year that you've used the Hour of Code or participated in the Hour of Code.
I used code.org last year.
Oh, okay.
With my students, but this was the first year that we were really promoting the Hour of Code during that week, that they really wanted to celebrate technology and education.
And that's in the fall, right?
It's in December.
It's in December.
It follows.
It celebrates Admiral Grace Hopper's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually did some research on her, taught my teachers about her. I went on Amazon and bought a book about her life and read it to my students.
Oh, wow.
And it was kind of neat because it was promoting women in technology as well. So I think the kids, and especially the girls, like to read a little bit about her and her journey. So,
and so before we get too much into it, your new school that you're at this year had an opportunity for a grant to be written, and you volunteered for that.
I did.
You did?
I did. I volunteered to write an internal grant, so it was through the Torrance Ed Foundation, and I ended up receiving the grant.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we got $500 to spend specifically for our Hour of Code.
During that week.
For that week.
So what did you spend that? So the grant writing process. So
right.
Let's.
Have you tried writing a grant?
Had
That was my first time writing a grant. So I had to cheat a little bit and ask my sister for some pointers.
I've written a few of those.
So she helped me with that a little bit. You know, I had to include my budget, my timeline, some things like that.
And was this specifically for the Hour of Code, this grant?
It was.
Okay.
We had a list of what we could choose from. So there were a couple different options, and that was one that fit our school.
And the dollar amount was fixed.
It was.
So that helped, because they said you get $500 if you're awarded this grant. What are you going to spend the $500 on? And so Hour of Code, for those that are listening and who have ever used it, is like, that's a free program that anybody can go online. And so one of the questions was, well, what do we spend the $500 on? And so we came up with a good budget. I think it was pretty solid. And but the interesting thing was, you know, kind of the thought process that went into that. So will you tell us a little bit about like kind of what we were thinking of and brainstorming when we were budgeting? Yeah.
So most of our budget went toward headphones for the kids to be able to use when they were on the program. But we also wanted to make a lot of promotional posters, banners, some flyers for the kids to take home to show their parents and things like that. So a chunk of our budget was for the promotional materials that we could reuse every year.
And this grant, was it specifically for your class or for the entire school?
It was for the entire school, but we focused mainly on grades 2 through 5.
And this grant had a really fast turnaround time because of when the Hour of Code was, December, and when the grant was due. And then when they let you know.
Right. So the grant was due the end of October.
Right.
And we were supposed to hear, you know, the end of October to beginning of November. And I still hadn't heard back. So I finally contacted them and said, hey, I kind of need to know if I got this or not, because the beginning of December is when that hour of code that week was. So I was eagerly awaiting, and they let me know that I had received it, and they were just a little bit behind in their timeline. So once they told me that, then I got going on my on my work.
Or we had ordering the banners and getting all the materials that we needed for that. And then we tweeted a lot about it and promoted it internally, let the parents know. You sent home things, I think, with the parents to let the parents know you were doing it. Mm-hmm. And then you had to talk to your teachers about this.
I did. So at one of our staff meetings, I got to get up and talk about the code.org and kind of walk them through how to do that. Had them all just kind of go on and play and have fun and learn about it themselves so that they could then turn around and teach the kids about it. And then we also had to have them fill out a survey about mainly about their comfort level with the technology and if they had ever, used anything like this with their students before.
Yeah, so there was we offered a pre and then a post survey for the event.
For the teachers? For the teachers.
Okay. For the teachers, yeah. Surveying students comes with a whole nother. There's a whole nother.
You may or may not want to go there.
Yeah, and it was more just an internal for Jillian and the principal, and then the Torrance Ed Foundation to kind of see, did the teachers like this? Was it valuable? Did they grow and things like that as they do the reflective survey, which we don't have that data back yet, I don't think, but it's coming.
So can you take us through the process of what the Hour of Code is?
So the Hour of Code was basically, they wanted during this special week in December, they wanted each teacher, each classroom to have their students do an hour of technology, an hour of coding. And, you could kind of break it up however you wanted to. But basically you wanted them to do an hour of coding that week. And of course, it ended up being parent-teacher conference week when we were already out an hour early every day. So that made it a little difficult time-wise, but it was super important to us. So we tried to make sure that every day, like I gave my students about 25 minutes every day to go on to code.org and just kind of play around and get comfortable. A lot of the teachers actually introduced the website the week before so that they could kind of get their feet wet with it a little bit and know what they were doing. So it wasn't completely new to them. So they had, some of them had seen it before.
So you did this during the first week of December. Will you tell us a little bit more about that week and its significance?
So that week is Computer Science Education Week, and it's held in recognition of Grace Hopper, who they consider one of the pioneers of computing and women in computer science. So we wanted to definitely recognize her and remember her, but also just introducing the kids to a program that was probably new for many of them, but introducing them to something that they can use for the rest of their lives, not just during this 1 week. So we have continued to use it since December.
That's great. So coding, so some people are scared of coding. I know when I first heard about it, I was like, I don't really want to do this code.org thing. And so you actually introduced me to it, which I know. And I got really excited about it. And that's like, I jumped on your bandwagon. But, I love the fact that we're introducing coding to kids in school, right? Because coding is a foreign language. In some cases, it is considered a foreign language. And there's multiple languages in coding. It's not just one. And so this code.org website introduces, depending on the grade level, the grade level goes all the way down to the kindergartens, and it goes all the way up, right? All the way through, I think, 12th grade. Mm-hmm. And it has different complexities. So, you kind of pick your grade level and there's activities within that. But coding is teaching logic, and it's teaching kids how to think logically. And as they put things together, they put the pieces together, and they watch whatever is going to happen. They can see it. It's live on the screen, and so they go, oh.
Well, it's very much in game form for them, and there's a lot of, cartoons. And so they can play an Angry Bird version, or they can play a Star Wars version, or a Frozen version. And so for the younger kids, they really like that because they think of it as playing a game, and they don't really realize that they're learning something so important.
That logic component of like, okay, do this. Oh, that didn't work. He turned left and he should have turned right. Then I gotta, okay, go. And then where did I put that in that sequence?
And just that perseverance for the kids is so important, because that is something that is really hard to teach them. We use that word a lot. You just have to persevere. And there have been some times where I didn't know how to help a kid on something, and they'll help each other. And that's really cool to see them help each other out with some of these problems, and just see them persevere and just to help each other on these things. So it's really neat to watch.
That's so neat. So what, I guess, can they do on this program? Are they changing lights, like you said? Are they turning actual characters, making them turn left and right? And they can like make a scene happen? Or what does it look like?
There's so many different components, and it just there's almost like levels that it gets harder and harder. So they start out, pretty basic, and they can watch tutorial videos to help them, and they just kind of play these little games that teach them how to do these things, and they go from there.
So what did the students think about doing this?
They loved it. Every day they asked if it was time to code. They ask to do it all the time now. When they have free time, they ask, can I go on code.org? And they just love it. So I wish there were more hours in the day that I could give them to work on these things. A lot of them will tell me, oh, I did it at home last night, and so that's really good to hear that they're still, still into it and wanting to do it at home, if there's, not enough time in the day to do it at school. So,
and this is something that they can access at home.
Absolutely.
For free on the website.
Yes.
Do they have to create an account?
They do. They do, but it only asks for a first name, so they don't need to put in any information that is
like no identifying information, no email addresses or anything like that.
Right.
So how would you think that this tool has helped you grow as a teacher? So if you were talking to other teachers, you obviously did, and you said, this is really great. Like, why? How did you get buy-in from your other teachers at your site?
I think I just told them how much the students loved it last year, and, hopefully that the kids this year were going to love it just as much. And I think they did. And fortunately, so many of the teachers were on board and wanted to try it. So that was great to have that buy-in already.
I think your enthusiasm too. You had done it before, so they were looking to you as kind of an expert, and you were excited about bringing it. What about academic achievement? Do you see how are you making connections between code.org and some of the core curriculum that you need to teach?
I think the coding is a very important part of the STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And there's a big push for that. It's not the science fair anymore, it's the STEAM fair. So we're really trying to have the kids incorporate a lot more of those kinds of things into, across all of the curriculum. So that is a lot of the technology part, the engineering, the creativity. So hopefully they can see how all of those pieces really fit together.
Excellent.
What was your learning curve of using code? Were you able to immediately present it to the students and it's pretty much self-explanatory, or did you have to take like a little course on your own first? And
So last year was my first year ever trying it when I was at a different school and I was teaching third grade. That was my first time, and I tried it kind of right in front of the kids as they were watching me. And so I was a little bit nervous, not really knowing what I was doing, trying to, walk them through something I had never done before. But it was easy. And I think that speaks for the program, because it is easy enough to just play on it and have fun and learn. And I think as adults, we're scared to do those kinds of things, but the kids aren't. They're not afraid to, make mistakes and try. So we just watched some of the tutorial videos together as a class. I would have it up on the smart board, and I was trying it on my laptop, and they were watching me just kind of go through and play and have fun. And so I think that made it a little bit easier for them to understand what to do and see, okay, so, it's okay to just try it out and see how it goes. So, I did that last year, and then this year I kind of knew what to expect. And again, tried to just kind of walk the kids through, played them some of the introduction videos, but ultimately I just kind of said, go log on and have fun. And they take it from there.
We know that this costs zero money to participate in Hour of Code, to use the code.org website, which is where the kind of Hour of Code takes you. Did your students work on this individually, or did you have any collaborative activities with it?
They started out working individually, and then as the activities got harder, they started kind of teaming up and helping each other out.
And they did that on their own?
They did.
Okay.
They did.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. And I think with the cost, especially, it'd be a great homeschool.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. If
it's available to everyone.
It is available to everyone. And so if you had a friend who was homeschooling, their fourth grader, what would you say to them about this product? Would you say, go try this? What?
Oh, absolutely. I think, technology is obviously the way of the future. And so for these kids to learn how to do a program like coding, I think it's just going to be so beneficial for them to have that, under their belt as they get older.
Mm-hmm.
But as homeschool parent, you can put their mind at ease of you don't actually have to learn how to code.
Right.
As the teacher,
parent.
or as the parent, or the home educator. You set it up, and that website actually, as I recall, did a really good job of setting it up as the teacher. It had a really great teacher page.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably where you got some of your materials that you gave to your teachers, right, at your school.
Yes, there were a lot of free materials to download, including all of the flyers, to send home to parents or to give to the other teachers, things like that. All of the posters that we had printed, everything was on their website for free.
And it was in multiple languages.
I believe so.
I believe it was in multiple languages.
So you said about the parents. What was the parents' reaction? Have you heard anything? Nothing?
No.
Wow, not good or bad, huh?
No, never really.
In this case, I would think no news is good news.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
It was also happening during parent-teacher conferences, so there was a lot going on, I think, during that particular week. And we chose not to survey students due to all kinds of legal issues. So I think we'll hear from the teachers. I mean, just your anecdotal, what you're saying now. I mean, what she's saying now is they want to do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And your school is K through?
We're K through 5.
5, okay. So you don't have a robotics group or after school, anything yet?
No.
Okay. So this is it. This is the way the students get a chance to work on the programming aspect.
Yeah,
of it.
programming. And programming is huge. I mean, I think it really is a part of school that we don't tend to take. We often we teach Spanish, or we teach French, or we're Mandarin, and I think that's fantastic. But coding needs to be recognized.
Well, and if you look at a lot of the private schools, they have technology teachers
Right.
or, things like that. But in the public school system, we don't have that, due to budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the classroom teacher to be able to use this tool, I think is so important.
And the fact that it's free. I mean, I just can't.
Right.
It's so robust, and it really is. It's not just one coding language, and it's not just one coding program.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple programs and multiple languages built in depending on where they are. So, like Jillian was saying, it's leveled.
That's awesome.
Which is phenomenal. Okay, a couple more questions. Knowing what you know now as an educator, you've been teaching for
15 years.
I can't believe that. What advice, technological or otherwise, would you give your first year teacher self? Now, this is really important because you have a niece who is studying to be a teacher who came into your classroom the other day. So you have that kind of perspective of like, what's that nugget that I can give to that brand new? So what would you have told her or you, or knowing what you know now?
Just to try everything. Don't be afraid to try. And it's all about balance. They need books and they need science and they need math, but they also need that technology. They need, so many of these things. They need to work individually, but they also need to learn how to work with a group and a partner. So there's just so many skills that they need. And the balance is huge. And just don't be afraid to try something. And it's okay if it doesn't always work or if it doesn't work the first time. And use those resources, especially those free resources out there.
At your school, do you have a mentor or a technology helper that comes around to the different schools to help you with technology?
No.
Nothing.
No.
You don't have any teacher on special assignment or anything like that?
Do you think that would be helpful? Or because you've never had it, maybe you don't know?
It's hard to say. I think teachers right now are just so overwhelmed with everything that's going on. If there was another person that we needed to meet with or, that kind of thing, I think it would just be one more thing on our plate.
Right.
It's nice to have somebody to talk to. I think I tend to go to my sister for technology advice or, how-to questions. And then the other teachers at my school had to come to me for things.
Tobaldo by proxy.
But, I just usually ask other teachers or I'll, text or email other teacher friends and say, hey, how did you do this? Or, so I think just your own teachers in your community are your biggest, your biggest asset.
So when you have a PD using technology, how is that run then? You all just go to one gigantic auditorium and you learn about anything that's being pushed out, or there's really nothing?
We haven't had much with technology.
Okay.
A couple years back, when Torrance was going through some of their renovations, a lot of the teachers now have their smart boards in the classrooms, things like that. But we've just kind of had to learn on the fly how to use them. Nobody really teaches you. You just kind of figure it out.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Different districts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Different.
Absolutely.
There's a couple people in the district who their job is to, kind of maintain. And I think if we had questions, we could email them,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they make sure kind of your networks are up and running, that your Chromebooks are all deployed.
Yeah. So I think if I had a specific technology question, they could answer that, but they don't really do like curriculum type.
And they're not, your district isn't doing any technological PDs and you and your husband are at different schools, so you would know kind of if there was district stuff going on.
There's possibly some things over the summer that are offered.
I'm always like, when she asks me a question, I'm like, can I come in and help you? I can come in. I'm all fingerprinted. Excellent. I think, just one last question is, what advice do you have for teachers So let's say brand new teachers next year, you get a brand new teacher hired right out of college, and they're now at your school with this one-to-one device. Other than that balance component that you just said, like, what would you give them now specifically about using the technology?
Just try and use it across the whole curriculum. There's programs that you can use it for math. You can have them writing their Word documents on there. You can have them creating PowerPoints. There's so much that you can do and have the kids doing that's cross-curricular. So you don't just want them, on certain programs just for part of the day. They can really use it throughout so much of their day.
So really helping them see that, like, it's not just a one-time thing. It's not just only in English or only for ST Math.
Right.
That you can really take it all the way through.
And have you either heard about or have seen another technology that you are interested in perhaps pursuing or looking at for your classroom? Or have you heard anything that's coming down the pike that you think, oh, that sounds like fun, or that could be interesting?
She's looking at me like, what's coming down?
I'm thinking. Besides the Chromebooks and iPads, I can't think of too much else. I just want to explore more of what I can have my kids doing with certain subjects. Like, I'm already thinking about, what am I going to have mine doing for social studies in the next couple weeks? And, what websites can I have them going on to research things? And so I'm kind of just thinking ahead, and with the technology that I have now.
You asked me the other day about Google Cardboard.
We did talk about Google Cardboard. Another teacher had asked me about it, and I don't know a whole lot about it.
I always send you like the apps, like the Abraham Lincoln one that came out over President's Day, and it was a AR VR, but your kids are on Chromebooks, so it was more of you had to do it on your phone or an iPad, which you don't have. But I think the Google Cardboard would be interesting for social studies. I was really excited about that one.
Mm-hmm. And what is Google Cardboard?
Google Cardboard is a way to have almost like a augmented reality or it's a virtual reality, I guess, experience, because you put like a device, like an iPod in a Google Cardboard glasses set. And then the teacher can deploy, like, you guys study California history, so,
we're going to this mission.
And then the mission comes up, and the kids, it's funny because you can get a whole bunch of kids in a classroom, like, kind of walking around and turning, and they can bump into each other. So you have to do it in small groups. We saw that at the high school when we tested it there. But yeah, they can put on these basically cardboard glasses, and then they can look around, and it moves with them. So that is more of a virtual reality experience, versus an augmented reality experience, which is the president one that I sent you, where he pops up animated in your current space. So that's an augmented reality versus those roller coaster ones make me a little nauseous, and the virtual reality ones.
Yeah.
But I think, like, as we talk about social studies in fourth grade and what's happening, the Minecraft missions that we did the other day were really cool and things like that. So I talk about that a lot, but I was really proud of that. That was a neat experience for us to have in the mission, building that mission in Minecraft.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's on my Twitter.
Can he be a guest speaker in my classroom?
Yeah. We've created a monster in that boy, so he's had to present it twice, so he's a clown now. But yeah, I think I'm really excited about the work that you're doing. Obviously, very proud of the work that you're doing, just as my sister, because I've seen you grow in the last 15 years, and what I think you said about balance. I think back to when you first started teaching, right? 15 years ago. And this really wasn't a thing. Mm-mm. I mean, you were teaching kindergarten, you started out in a kindergarten classroom, and I don't know that you would have seen this coming this day, right? Of like this much technology in the classrooms, especially in your classroom.
Well, and when I started, we had 2 little computers in the classroom.
They weren't little. They were like
gigantic computers. And, the kids would just kind of take turns going back and playing a math game on them. And it wasn't really a thing back then. And
it's evolved, I say dog years, right? Like it's just technology is like one technology year is like 7, human years. It's just so, it just is exponential, or one human year is 7 technology years, I guess. So I mean, you've just really seen the students that you taught in kindergarten that first year are in college now.
Second year of college.
So just who they are and who they've become and just what has happened in their lifetime. Now you've got these 4th graders and you're exposing them to so much more than you could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. And I just think like, that's amazing. Right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so exciting to me to be able to watch it happen, because I'm not in a classroom anymore. So I live my life vicariously through, my family members who teach and all these people that we interview on the podcast, and just how like the schools that we work in, and just I'm like so excited about it. I just get like I always want to be like, can I come and play I want to play. I want to be in the classroom with you. Yeah. Anything else you want to share with us?
I don't think so. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Sure. Are you going to be anywhere? Are you going to any conferences? Are you going to be presenting anywhere in your school district, or?
Not that I know of yet, but maybe after I'm famous after this. I don't know.
She's going to be called upon.
Take this show on the road.
Yes.
Okay, and if people want to get a hold of you, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
They can email me at hoffman.jillian@tusd.org.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's not on Twitter yet. It's okay.
It's okay.
My heart breaks.
No.
She's on Pinterest.
Well, that's important. That's a teacher thing,
a lot of my ideas.
It's a teacher thing. No, I'm just thank you for spending the evening with us here today, and I really appreciate it.
Yes, it was great fun, and we learned not only about the coding, but we learned about grant writing as well. So I really appreciate you and coming to talk with us today.
Well, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jillian.
Thanks for listening to the MyTech Toolbelt podcast. If you have enjoyed listening, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or send us some feedback on our website, mytechtoolbelt.com. We would love to hear from you. This will help us deliver the content that you want to hear. Thanks, and we're out.